going on? Tammy Solomon. Karen Hick. Good to see you, Karen. Jari. Mustang. Daisy, what's up? Good to see you. Welcome back to the Sleuth Intuition channel. I'm your host, Patrick Vallejos, broadcasting to the world live from Phoenix, Arizona. I'm going to dive back into Abby and Libby's case, also known as the Delphi murders. Poll question of the day, do you know the Daniel Norfleet case? 58% of you out of the 37 who voted, make that 61%, say no. They have not heard of this case. It's not clickbait. Delphi resident Daniel James Norfleet busted trading CSAM on the dark web. Is a factual statement. Christine, welcome in. Jay Ray. CJK. Jari. Jamie. What's up, Stephanie? Pitbull. She Warrior. True Crime Housewife. And the Red Queen. All right, let's get into it. Jody Lynn, good to see you. All right. Daniel James Norfleet is a 55-year-old resident of Delphi, Indiana. He was arrested on June 20th, 2024, following an investigation by the Indiana State Police Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force. That's Indiana State Police Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force. The investigation began in 2023 after a cyber tip from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Detectives obtained a search warrant for Norfleet's residence, which was executed on April 11th, 2023, leading to the seizure of various items. Forensic examinations of these items revealed possession of CSAM. KK, future roomie, says Daisy. Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it if they already knew each other. I'm telling you, when you have a burner phone and you're using public Wi-Fi hotspots and everything on your phone is registered under false information, there's no way to track it to you. Especially if you don't ever bring it home or if you take out the battery or something. What's up, Lori? Yeah, good to see you. Norfleet faces 9 felony counts of possession of child pornography, 5 counts of level 5 felony, and 4 counts at level 6 felony. He was taken into custody and transported to the Carroll County Jail, where he awaits further legal proceedings. The Carroll County Prosecutor's Office is determining if additional charges are warranted. The investigation involved support from multiple agencies, including the Indiana State Police Digital Forensic Unit, Lafayette District, SWAT North Team, Carroll County Prosecutor's Office, Boone County, Tippecanoe County, all right. Pitbull Mom says, y'all, please hit the thumbs up. It's right there, guys. Stephanie says, sick SOB. Smart Shopper. What is CSAM? You don't know what CSAM is? Says here, additionally, public records from March 2022 indicate Norfleet was charged with resisting law enforcement and disorderly conduct in a separate incident. So this is a guy who is basically hiding in plain sight in Delphi. You know, he could have easily have been a person of interest, you know, before the arrest of Richard Allen. I remember coming across his Facebook many times. You know, he gives you those vibes, but there's nothing there to tie him to anything. He's hiding in plain sight, not making it obvious. J. Ray, I'd like to think most pedos would keep that gross hobby of theirs to themselves, but I guess not. No, it's kind of like serial killers. They always seem to try to reach out to each other. Like, oh, maybe they'll understand me. Kind of like Rex Heuermann reaching out to the happy face killer. They became pen pals. What's up, Blind Squirrel? Interesting that so many counties were involved. Yeah, it was a huge operation. Anthony France, what up? Louise? Okay, another interesting connection here. His daughter was friends with Kelsey. I know a lot of people are coming at Kelsey recently without any real hard proof, you know, which is very strange. But this right here is kind of interesting. It shows you how small Delphi really is. And we can't even identify this creep right here who's right there hiding in plain sight. So as you can see, I took it off of his Facebook. It was posted October 6th, 2018. I think this one over here is his daughter in the blue. And there's Kelsey. Crazy. Yep. They recognize each other. This is the way I see it playing out, Daisy. You have somebody like a Kagan Klein and a Daniel Norfleet, right? They're both, they have two separate accounts. Kagan Klein had his Emily Ann 45, where he portrayed himself as a 13-year-old kid, right? That way he can groom other 13-year-olds into accepting this other account, this other Anthony Shots type account, or even maybe even Kagan Klein's regular account. But either way, it begins with a female, him portraying himself as a young female teenage girl. And I think the same thing was happening with Daniel Norfleet. So you have Norfleet, who is portraying himself as a 13-year-old girl, and you have Kagan Klein, who's portraying himself as a 13-year-old girl, and they bump into each other on like Instagram or Facebook or Snapchat or something like that. And they begin trying to convince each other, right, that they're young girls, and they begin to kind of draw them in. They begin grooming them. Well, they're going to notice that they're grooming each other. You know what I mean? Norfleet's going to be like, hey, wait a minute. Hey, are you grooming me? Like, are you doing what I'm doing? They're going to recognize each other out there. And then it's at that point they're going to begin sharing information. You know, they're swimming in the same pond. They might even see the, you know, the repetition of the name coming up in different arenas of social media, kind of deploying the same tactics. Welcome in, Bootleg Pass. Anthony says they question her interviews. Pisses me off. She was a damn kid at the time. Lay off her. Hey, look, if they have some solid evidence, go for it. But to sit back and come at a 16-year-old girl because she acts weird in interviews and it's kind of a little bit strange, which I believe is just nervous energy. You know, without solid proof, you're really going to go there and say, oh, I've been reading her body language. She's definitely hiding something. Yeah, maybe she is. Maybe she has her own secrets. What are you hiding? Let's check out your body language. Let's analyze you for a little bit and see what happens. You know, let's look into your history. What's going on there? You know, it's like it's okay to mess with her. Why not you? Now, if you have some real evidence, that's different. If you have solid evidence, you can go after anybody as long as you gave it to police first, in my opinion. What's up, GP? Sydney. And he belonged to that local Delphi group for kids about the Delphi schools. Are you sure about that, Sydney? What are you referring to? Local Delphi group for kids. What's up, Tony? Bad actors, what up? I'm trying to catch up on the chat. Jari, good to see you. Smart Shopper. I don't get it. If they are acting like girls, how do they groom the young girls? Well, they become friends with them, right? Hey, I'm not Keegan Klein. I'm actually a 13-year-old lesbian kid, just like you. You know, I mean, they spend days, weeks, months working on certain people, like 50 kids at a time. There's going to be a few, you know, they're working the numbers. They're playing the numbers. 1 out of 10 is going to buy into it. And then once they have their hook set into you, like, oh, we're best friends, right? Well, the young girl thinks she's just made a new friend online. This poor 13-year-old girl who seems like she's in trouble, but really it's Kagan Klein. Well, slowly Kagan Klein convinces his new friend that she has an awesome older brother named Anthony Schatz. He's super successful. He travels a lot. He makes a lot of money. And then slowly they start convincing them to reach out, communicate. And that's where it all happens. Jerry, her interviews were she was 18. But to be fair, most of her interviews were, Jerry, I'll kick you out of here. She was 16. During those interviews, she was 16. The interviews that they're referring to, it was days after the murders. So just consider that a warning. I don't understand why it's so hard for people. Like, what are you saying? Her car is on video leaving the area. If you're going to say it, just fucking say it. Sydney, it was a group called I Hate School or something and was about just school-related things. Yes, I'm sure. I'll try to dig up the screenshots and send it to you. So I appreciate that, Sydney. If you can find them and send them to me, I'll share them. I'll put them up on the screen. Yeah, I got you. I got that. I got that. This photograph might have been taken by Thomas Frost, maybe. Don't quote me on that. I think that's the channel I got it off of, though. Was Thomas Frost. So apparently this is them conducting basically a raid. Kicked in his door, wave in the fofo, saying, Papa, don't hit me no mo. What's up, Melissa? Were Libby and Abby victims of Norfleet, or did it occur after their murders? Excuse me. Let's go to the probable cause affidavit, just to be sure. Close down some of these windows. All right. Affidavit's about 4 pages. I guess I can share it with you guys. All right, put that back up there. So this is a Delphi resident hiding in plain sight. Not one web sleuth had him on their top 5 or even had his name at all. Okay, so on December 28th, 2022, Indiana State Police Detective Rachel Dykstra began an investigation after receiving a cyber tip from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Microsoft reported that a user of their services utilized Microsoft Bing image to upload child pornography. So why would he do that? I wonder if that was by mistake or something. That's weird. Why would he do that? Microsoft reported that the incident occurred on November 21st, 2022, and that the incident type was CSAM, possession, manufacture, and distribution. Microsoft also clarified in the cyber tip that the incident time reflects when the first image video in a series was scanned. This indicates that the suspect uploaded the image into Bing Image. Pitbull Mom, is Daniel Norfleet the weirdo you talked about the other night that was posting confessions and then posted that pic? No. This guy was caught out of the blue and nobody knows anything about it except that he was on the dark web, and we're going to read about it here in the Probable Cause. So he was trading images, just like what Keegan Kline was doing. He was trading images. So he would say, hey, I have these 10 images. I'll send them to you. And then you go ahead and send me the stuff that you've recently come across. We're going to trade. But what's interesting is when Keegan Kline was being interrogated, whoever he was talking about was complaining about their Wi-Fi. So Kagan was like trying to send him these videos, and the person was like, hey, the Wi-Fi is not working. So to me, that's an indication that they were using like a public Wi-Fi or something other than their home Wi-Fi or their own phone's network. You know, most likely using a burner phone and attaching to some public Wi-Fi. You know, every establishment offers Wi-Fi nowadays. Everything. Shit, McDonald's, CVS, whatever. Welcome in, D. Robinson. Big shout out to Ohio. Ohio's in the house. Big up to Ohio. I don't have all day. Do you think Rick Allen was a paying user of the Anthony Shots account? I don't know. I don't think he was a paid user. I think it's possible. Remember, he worked at the CVS right around the corner from the Klein home. And my sources tell me, and this is unverified, but I trust them. They were right about a lot of information. Remember, I'm the one that broke the information about Richard Allen being in Peru before it was ever made public. The morning the murders occurred, I was the only one that even knew that information, other than law enforcement and Richard Allen himself, and probably Kathy Allen. So if they knew each other from back in the day, they're about 2 years apart. You know, TK and Richard Allen. But it's my understanding, and even Vito admitted to this while being interviewed by the Murder Sheet, that at one point they lived in the same neighborhood. And my sources tell me it was somewhere near 2nd Street is where it all happened. They all hung out there a long time ago. So if you're hanging out a long time ago, just out of high school, drinking and kind of running around as young people, and then you don't see each other for 20 years, you know what I mean? And then all of a sudden there you are at CVS and you're fighting with your wife and your brother-in-law just died and she won't talk to you. You guys are having to travel back and forth to Peru. Your mother needs hip surgery. You know, all this stuff's going on and everything seems to be falling apart. Why don't you come hang out with us? You know, why would law enforcement find any kind of connection between the Kleins and the Allens if that was the scenario that's actually going on? They wouldn't. Red Queen, I can't fathom how I would act if my sibling died now, let alone when we were kids and brutally murdered like Libby and Abby. Yeah, so imagine something horrible like that happening. And because you decided to be brave and you were feeling courageous and you stepped forward to be a spokesperson for the family, like, hey, I know social media. I can do this. But having no idea about the evil that lurks on social media, the evil that lurks with some of these content creators, and the majority of the evil that lies with all of these trolls and these despicable people out there, really, that are just in our society, just negative all day, nitpicking and splitting hairs, all these semantics, and it's just endless arguing back and forth, not even believing in what they're selling. They just know that, hey, I found all the pieces to put together a great argument. Good luck trying to come at me. And they don't, you're just wasting your breath. It's like talking to a brick wall. Anthony says, I think common sense would lead you to believe Ricky knew the girls would be there somehow. Don't forget, people, he liked younger girls at his work. He wanted to be liked by them, be a cool guy. What's up, Dark Side? Cyber Warrior, what up? Anthony says, the girls probably made a comment that he heard them say about him. Then he wanted some kind of revenge for their comments. Well, remember, the killer or killers, Richard Allen and his accomplices, were with Abby and Libby for an hour and 45 minutes. Doesn't that seem odd? This isn't just some opportunistic lone wolf, because he would get in and he would get out. There's no defensive wounds. So it's not like he was out there fighting with them, fighting for control over the situation. They didn't get very far. They got across the creek and that's it. What were they doing for an hour and 45 minutes? This isn't just some typical, I'm twacked out of my mind. I'm on the bridge. I fantasized about this before. Look, here's my opportunity. That's not what the evidence is telling me. You know, if that was the case, something horrible would have happened right at the bottom of that hill. Welcome in. I don't have all day. Could have easily been threatened into keeping quiet about co-conspirators. Absolutely. American Girl Reacts. Welcome in. Dark Che. Just joined in but not following. A new arrest? No. This arrest here, I'll continue on, happened December 28th, 2022. Daniel Norfleet, another Delphi resident, loosely connected to Liberty's family and basically just the Delphi community. Just another person hiding in plain sight that nobody would expect was trading CSAM on the dark web. So let's continue on here. Microsoft Bing, commonly known as Bing, is a web search engine owned and operated by Microsoft. Bing provides a variety of search services, including web, video, image, and map search products. Users of Bing can search for content and videos and other related materials by doing a reverse image search. Essentially, users of Bing can search images by going to the search bar, clicking on the camera icon, and then drag and drop multiple images to search. Browse to a location on a device, paste an image or URL, or take a photo. This is a reverse image search feature that allows users to search for files similar to what they uploaded. The only way that a Bing image search can be done is if the user possessed the content of what they are similarly searching for. So this guy regularly used the Tor server, which is used to access the dark web. And what it looks like is maybe he was drunk or something and used the regular internet instead. So Sherry Faye. We got a scrub report. Got 102 in here and only 37 thumbs up. If you could hit the like button. It's right there. Click it. All right, let's continue on here. In order for a user to use this platform for child pornography purposes, the user would first have to possess child pornography to search for it using this means. So he already owned the CSAM, and he uploaded those images trying to search them on Bing's image search option. He thought he was on the dark web at the time. Further, the user would have to physically turn off safe search. So that's what he did, which is easily located in the menu in the upper right corner of the screen. Once that is turned off, the user can search for unfiltered content. Additionally, Microsoft utilizes PhotoDNA technology on their services to detect hash matches of files containing already known and previously documented images. So they're cataloging. That's good. So if they're out here trading and passing around these images, by having them cataloged, they can try to track them all down, and maybe they can actually clean it up a little bit, especially for some of these victims out here who are constantly being re-victimized by these assholes trading these like baseball cards. What's up, Sparky? Cindy, welcome in. Anthony says, to all the Ricky lovers out there, live in that fantasy world. Dude's a monster and admits he was. Well, what gets me, Anthony, is the I love Rick Allen or free Rick Allen. At the very least, he's involved, right? Or I'm saying at the very ultimate microscopic least, he's the number one suspect. He's most likely guilty. So how do you go from that to calling him babe and he's free? How do you go from, dang, this man did not get a good fair trial by any means, to he's free, we love him, have my baby? It's sick. But each to his own. I digress. It's good to see you, Sparky. Okay, the only information available for the suspect from the cyber tip was the Internet Protocol IP address the photo was uploaded from, which was reported to be 67.219.84.52. Bing Image reported that one image was uploaded from this IP address. Detective Dijkstra viewed the image and confirmed it was CSAM. After reviewing the image, Detective Dijkstra conducted an open source records check of the associated IP address. Records check of IP address 67.219.84.52 indicated that it belongs to Sparklight, and the address geolocated in or near Delphi, Carroll County, Indiana. American Girl reacts. Well, he's from Delphi. His home was raided in Delphi. He was using the dark web and trading CSAM in Delphi. His daughter was friends with Kelsey German. That's where we've gotten so far. But we're just getting started. Try to pay attention. Jeez Louise. Okay, on March 21st, 2023, Detective Dijkstra conducted a brief surveillance of Mr. Norfleet's residence. While driving past his residence, she observed a white male subject who resembled and appeared to be Mr. Norfleet on a lawnmower. A lawnmower? The depravity. Okay, you're caught up. Any more? Any more hecklers? Just kidding. On April 11th, 2023, a search warrant was executed on Mr. Norfleet's residence. And that was the photograph that I showed you guys. Mr. Norfleet was read his advice of rights and stated that he understood and agreed to speak with Detective Dijkstra. Mr. Norfleet confirmed that his internet is Sparklight. He stated that whoever needs his laptop uses it, including himself, his daughter, and girlfriend. He stated that no one else but him uses his cell phone. Real quick, another thing that's really disgusting with these people, a pattern that I've noticed, is a lot of times they abuse people in their own homes. Like if they're a stepfather or a boyfriend in a relationship, they'll be abusing their girlfriend's children or their boyfriend's children or their own children or adopted children or a family member's children. They'll create the CSAM, and that's what they'll trade. They'll abuse their own family, document it, and trade it online with people like Kagan Klein and Norfleet here. Mr. Norfleet was asked again if he had seen any child pornography. He stated they weren't child porn. It was things that just kind of pop up. He was asked to clarify, and he stated, not good pictures, and I just deleted them. Mr. Norfleet did admit that any images of children under 18 years of age would be considered child pornography. When asked if he had seen anything under 18 years old, Mr. Norfleet stated, I think so, but I don't know because you can't tell. See, and the people that are in love with Richard Allen, they're listening to Norfleet and go, yeah, he probably didn't even know the difference. So Mr. Norfleet stated, I think so, but I don't know because you can't tell. Like idiots out there are like, yeah, what if, how is he supposed to know? Detective Dijkstra then explained to Mr. Norfleet why they were at the home. He denied searching for CSAM. He was asked about if he had seen child pornography, and he stated, I know that it is there. During the search, law enforcement seized 4 items, an iPad, a Moto EXT, HP laptop, and an HP desktop computer. A forensic exam was done on the item seized by ISP Sergeant Tracy Kunstick. Detective Dijkstra met with her on December 13th, 2023. Sergeant Kunstick indicated that she had located several notable images and videos that qualified as CSAM. Detective Dijkstra reviewed the information that Sergeant Kunstick extracted and confirmed that there was CSAM on the laptop and the desktop computer. On the laptop computer, there were 11 pictures of the same pubescent female child between 13 and 15 who was completely nude. It appeared that there was actually 3 different images with multiple repeats of each. Detective Dijkstra was also able to examine the search history on the laptop. There were several searches related to child pornography. On the desktop computer, there were over 1,200 notable images of CSAM and child erotica. There were 2 images specifically that showed of various female children, approximately 7 to 9 years old, fully nude in different sexual situations. There are 3 additional photos of female children, approximately 4 to 6 years old, fully nude in different sexual situations. Finally, there is a photo of a female child approximately 12 to 14 years of age. Does that sound familiar? Fully nude in a sexual situation. The search history on this device is compatible to that of the laptop with several searches for child pornography. Additionally, this device was used to access, now pay attention to this part, this is the dark web stuff. This device was used to access a peer-to-peer file sharing network called AIRS. There are 18 search keywords documented, which only 2 different terms were searched. Those terms were PTHC and bestiality PTHC, which means that Mr. Norfleet was searching for preteen hardcore and preteen hardcore bestiality content. So he's not happy with just children. He's not happy with just nude children. He's not just happy with nude children having sex on film. He has to have nude children having sex with animals involved. That's what we're dealing with here. There are also 10 different The Onion Router URLs. The Onion Router is what's used to access the dark web. Anybody can download it, but it takes experience to know how to kind of travel the dark web. So you can get the Onion Router, you can have it, you can use it for your day-to-day activity without doing anything nefarious. But once you have that roadmap, you can get into some trouble. The Onion Router URL is documented, which is an internet browser used to access the dark web and is known to be utilized due to its levels of anonymity. So why didn't anybody know about James, Mr. Daniel James Norfleet? You're telling me this guy is trading CSAM on the dark web right in the middle of Delphi and nobody knows about it? What else don't we know? All right. So I also had an old list of notable Indiana cases involving CSAM that were very similar to this case here. We might be able to go over a few of those and then we'll get out of here. Jamie, several searches for child porn. All of those things weren't found in Richard Allen's computer searches. Richard Allen didn't search the dark web that you know of. Remember, Richard Allen wasn't a single guy. He's a family man. If anybody's going to use a burner phone, it would be him. I don't know why that concept is so hard for some people to grasp. Like, how hard is it to go purchase a phone, put in fake information in the phone? Shit, for all you could put in that you're a 21-year-old girl from Alabama. Who the hell is going to know? Put it on your prepaid smartphone. You have access to the internet. It's not connected to any kind of service provider. And the only time you ever use it is when you go out in public and access a public Wi-Fi. You don't think Richard Allen could have been doing something like that? Some of you guys don't have any imagination. Or maybe it's just the fact that I worked with this really evil woman one time and she was leading two lives. She had two lives. Um, one of her lives was she was married to a young guy, good looking guy. She had two beautiful kids and they seemed happy. But behind the scenes, she had a burner phone that she only linked to the works Wi-Fi, never at home. It had no of her personal information, registered on the device, and she was having a completely separate relationship with another man. Her husband would come pick her up for lunch, middle of the day, walk in holding the baby and holding hands with this young girl, and the whole time his wife, he had no clue that his wife had this burner phone in the drawer of her desk, her office desk. It was heartbreaking. If she can do it, why couldn't Richard Allen do it? If you wanted evidence that she was doing something bad, you would need that phone. Everything was on that phone. If she destroys that phone, she destroys all the evidence as well. Nope, not at all. They hide in their mother's basement or the basement of their home or their home in Delphi, Indiana. Okay, so you have the case of Melvin Anderson. Now, one thing, the reason I picked these cases, I want you to notice how many years they received as punishment for their crimes compared to what Kagan Klein received. A lot of you say, "Oh, the only reason that Kagan Klein got so many, what was it, like 45 to 50 years or something like that? The only reason he received so many years was because the judge knew that he was involved with the Delphi murders." And I used to tell all of you guys, like, no, that's ridiculous. There's no way. But after looking at these cases and seeing the amount of time they received as punishment, I'm starting to believe you. We'll take a look at some of these cases. Give me a minute. I'm going to go grab some water. All righty. Sorry about that. Two main phones needed, KK's and Ricky's at the time, just vanished. Coincidence? I doubt it. What's up, Teresa? Yeah, people are crazy. People are absolutely nuts. They spend all day just bickering and fighting and complaining. To me, that's like the definition of evil and wickedness, just that bickering, gnashing of teeth. It's like, give it a rest. Take a day off. Okay, so can anybody out there tell me how many years Kagan Klein received for his charges? For some reason, I want to say 42, but I could be wrong. Teresa says, I still don't understand how KK got away with admitting being there and then not arrest him. I don't know. Maybe he made some kind of weird deal and gave him Richard Allen's name. Stephanie says 43. Jamie says 46. Anthony says 40 plus. Jari, 40 something. I want to say 42. Something around there. Well, look at that compared to these cases. This is Melvin Anderson, 23 years old, was sentenced to 17.5 years in federal prison for advertising and distributing CSAM on Twitter. And this was between December of 2022 and March of 2023. Anderson operated multiple public accounts, selling access to over 600 videos and images of minors, including those under 12 being sexually abused. He used cloud-based storage folders and accepted payments via Cash App and Apple Pay. That sounds familiar. The case was investigated by the U.S. Secret Service and prosecuted under Project Safe Childhood. Let's see. I think I have an old article with this guy, Melvin Anderson. Indie man sentenced after using Twitter to sell child sexual abuse material. An Indianapolis man was sentenced to more than 17 years in prison after he advertised and sold child sexual abuse material on social media, according to a news release from the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of Indiana. 23-year-old Melvin Anderson pleaded guilty to advertising child sexual abuse material and distribution of visual depictions of minors engaged in sexual explicit conduct. According to the release, Anderson will spend 17.5 years in prison. Only 17 years. Followed by 10 years of supervised release. This predator not only re-victimized children by exploiting the worst days of their lives over and over again to further demand, but did so just to make a quick buck. John E. Childress, the acting U.S. attorney for the Southern District of Indiana, said in the release, if not for the work of the Secret Service, this dangerous man would still be profiting from such horrific abuse and incentivizing others to exploit and harm children. So is this something that Richard Allen was involved in? And because it wasn't found, doesn't that mean it's up to us to find it? Have to start pulling your sleuth card. You guys are getting lazy. The release said that Anderson ran multiple accounts that advertised links to cloud-based storage folders and contained more than 600 videos and images of minors being sexually abused. Anderson provided his Cash App and Apple Pay. Libby had an iPhone and could have had access to Apple Pay. Anthony Schatz apparently was sending money to Libby. And these are the two that popped up as the most logical, right? Cash App and Apple Pay. Officials said Anderson advertised the accounts as if he was running a legitimate retail business, hiding in plain sight. Organizing the files based on various characteristics, the release said that material with younger victims garnered a higher price. It's disgusting. All right, let's go to another case over there in, what is it, Lugatti, Martin County, Indiana. A guy by the name of Ryan Watkins. Let's go to Smart Shopper real quick. Here's what I don't understand at all. In school, at home, girls are taught about the dangers. Why would any underage gal carry on with grown men or any stranger, even pretending to be a girl? Well, you have to remember, Smart Shopper, these are children. Children are easily manipulated, especially when they're ignorant to the evils of the world. That's why children are so innocent. They haven't been corrupted. They still believe in the beauty in the world. And the reason that these people, it's not always men and women alike, the reason they target these young women is because they're vulnerable. They're susceptible to that. They play on their ignorance, and they can be groomed. And it's not like they just come at them like, hey, it's me, a creepy guy. Hi, little girl. No, they're very good at what they do. That's why I tried to explain to you the methods that Kagan Klein was using. He would act as if he was a 13-year-old girl. He would make friends. He would just act like a normal young girl. He would try to do the things that he thought young girls did. And he would take his time. He would make friends. He would gather these friends. He would corral these friends like sheep. And then when he had them all in the corral, he would leave the gate open and let a wolf in when nobody was looking. Better yet, he would convince one of the sheep to do it. And that's what happened. Somebody let Anthony Schatz into Abby and Libby's inner circle, and he was able to cyberstalk them, I believe. What's up, Timmy? Think KK's lies that led to the Wabash River search earned him a long sentence. Well, look at this. Ryan Watkins from Martin County, Indiana. Ryan Watkins, 47, a registered sex offender, was sentenced to 10 years in federal prison for possessing over 600 images of CSAM involving minors under 12. Downloaded to his cell phone and linked to a cloud-based storage platform. This happened between January and April of 2023. Watkins had a prior 2010 conviction for child molestation in Davies County. So he had priors, and he only got 10 years. Why did Kagan Klein get 40 plus years? You guys used to tell me it's because of his involvement in the Delphi murders, and I said, no way. They can't negotiate with other people's justice, but you might be right. How does this guy, Ryan Watkins, who was already a registered sex offender, receive 10 years? Says here, his case involved minors under 12. So multiple victims. Jessica says young girls lack life experience, easily manipulated, trusting, impulsive, and are eager to connect. Yes, and a lot of times they're brave, right? Oh, I'm not afraid. Most teenagers, I was that way, you know. I was always in way over my head, constantly. Some people don't make it through their mistakes in life. Thank God I've had a lot of crazy mistakes, horrible mistakes that I survived. But we don't always survive our mistakes, unfortunately. Teresa says 48. Are you saying that Kagan Klein received 48 years? Bootleg, yes. Brave, daring, yep. Courageous. You're talking to a 19-year-old boy? Yeah, I'm just going to play with him for a little while. I'm just going to dangle him on a string. You're caught in between being a little kid and being an adult. It's a rough time. That age, 13 and 14. It was rough for me, I'll tell you that right now. I barely made it. I barely survived 14. Sparky. Welcome in, Jessica. Yes, TRQ. We need to hold lawmakers and tech company developers to higher standards for screening for illegal content. Smart people out there. It's doable. It is doable. But what they do is they run the numbers and they see how it's affecting their numbers and their bottom line. So they try their best to avoid it. They lobby against it. They ride that thin gray line because it affects their dollars. You got to war game everything. Absolutely, Red Queen. Hey, welcome in, Mark. Yep, young girls and young boys. That's right. Don't forget the Johnny Gosh case. And it's harder for young boys and men to admit to what they've been through when it comes to sexual assault, molestation, things like that. Sextortion. That's a good idea, Darkside. Bring back the milk carton. It's a good idea. Okay, what about Kenneth Walden out of Indianapolis? This case goes back to January 31st of 2024. Kenneth Walden, 43, was also a registered sex offender. He was sentenced to 15 years in federal prison for possessing CSAM between January and March of 2021. Walden uploaded CSAM to his Google account with files depicting prepubescent males. Right? Speak of the devil. Prepubescent males, some as young as 10 and 12, in sexually explicit conduct, including sadistic and masochistic acts. His prior convictions included, listen to his priors: criminal sexual conduct in 2000. This was Michigan. Child sex offender violations 2007 in Illinois. Failure to report as a sex offender in 2011. And all he gets is 15 years in federal prison, compared to Kagan Klein's 40 plus. Yeah, see, I'm not sure, Timmy, but that's the way it looks. Timmy says, I forgot to mention, I agree with you that KK's involvement in the Delphi murders helped him get a long sentence. It's starting to look that way. I mean, why is it that Kenneth Walden, a registered sex offender with a whole rap sheet of sex offenses towards children, only receives 15 years in federal prison? But Kegan Kline, a first offender, receives 40 plus years. I don't get it. I just don't get it. All right, one more. Christopher Becky, 44 years old. He was sentenced November 28th, 2022. Sentenced to 10 years, only 10 years in federal prison for possessing CSAM after a prior conviction. In December 2021, a Google account linked to Christopher was found to contain hundreds of CSAM images, including those of prepubescent children. Becky had prior convictions for child molestation and CSAM possession. They gave him 10 years. What the fuck? Why do they give this guy 10 years and Kegan Kline 40 plus? Crazy. All right, one more. Daryl Lewis, 32, was sentenced to 78 months in federal prison for distributing and receiving CSAM. Exactly what Kegan Kline was charged with. 78 months. Crazy. Videos depicting an adult male sexually abusing a prepubescent boy. Also, devices revealed hundreds of CSAM images. 78 months. That's crazy. Thanks, Sparky. Stephanie saying it's probably because they know KK arranged the meeting. That's weird because he did confess. It's almost like, dude, you confessed, but you failed to give us any tangible evidence. You know, you failed to give us anything we could use during the trial. Oh, wait. What about this guy? William F. Edwards, an EMS captain with the fire department in Indiana, was arrested by Homeland Security on a federal warrant for possession and distribution of CSAM. Here, let's pull this dude's image up. I always thought this case stemmed from the Anthony Shot stuff right here. When I saw this, it's like, Remember, Doug Carter said there were dozens of investigations that stemmed from the Anthony Shots tip. And then we started seeing all these arrests being made. This is William F. Edwards, February 12th, 2024 was the date of his arrest. Interesting date. Good, Sparky. I know moving can be a long, drawn-out process. Sometimes you want to put it off, and you don't mind things just kind of being cluttered for a while. He's got to be. But most people will tell you, oh, well, they didn't find anything on his devices. I mean, how can you cover true crime and just ignore what a burner phone is and how often it's used? I don't get it. It's kind of silly. And look at Norfleet. He made one mistake. He made one mistake and got busted. All he had to do was turn on safe search and do everything on the dark web through the Tor server. They would have never found him. He made one mistake and started uploading images onto his Bing image search outside of safe mode and outside of the dark web, and immediately was busted. And he sounded just like Kagan Klein. He sounds just like Richard Allen in his interview. Oh, trying to sound dumb. Absolutely, Sherry. All right, guys, that's going to do it. I mean, that's all I got for you. Unless there's anything you guys want to add, I'll give you 2 minutes to do so now in the comment section. So if you don't know, now you know. How could Richard Allen be hiding in plain sight? He's obviously not the guy. The same way Daniel James Norfleet was able to hide in plain sight. If he wouldn't have made one mistake, right? If Richard Allen wouldn't have left that one bullet, if Brian Kohberger wouldn't have left that one knife sheath, where would they be today? Where would they be? That's right, Teresa. 10 days before, she had her phone factory reset. Darkseid, the doo-doo monster. Absolutely. Yeah, most do, Stephanie. They can't control themselves, so most of them want to get caught. At least most of the serial killers that have sat down and spoken with the FBI guys, that's what they tell them. Like, they've all tried to stop. They just can't. I'm sure it's the same way with pedophiles. They look in the mirror and they're disgusted. But for some reason, they have this impulse. That's what makes them dangerous. One day they're acting like the normal person at CVS. The next day they're stalking the local hiking trail. And if you're not constantly aware of your surroundings, being vigilant, living in true crimesville, you're just not going to see it coming. And that's the part that I hate. See you later, Bootleg Pass. It was good to see all of you. Smart Shopper, Bootleg Pass, Sherry Faye, Sparky. Always good to see you, my friend. Mustang, Teresa, Stephanie, Darkside, my guy Anthony, and everybody else. Yep, be safe. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. Thanks for hanging out. If you guys need to get a hold of me, send me an email, at sleuthintuition@gmail.com. There's a phone number you can reach me at. You can find all my contact information at sleuthintuition.com. You can also pick up some Sleuth Crew merch there. Big shout out to all my members, all of you who donate to the Cash App, all of you who donate to the cause. Thank you so much. Thank you today, Sparky, for sponsoring today's live stream. Means a lot. And all of you guys, be safe out there. And I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.